If the court does not accept Trump's appeals by deadline day, AG James can start going after his properties. The former president owns some of New York City's most iconic buildings, and there's big concern over the harm that could do to the city's economy. The New York Post covers wordplay. There it is. High seas. Senior correspondent Eric Shawn has more for us now. Hi, Eric.
Yeah, hi, Sandra. That deadline, as you said, in 6 days from now. The demand, well, he's got to come up with $454 million, but Donald Trump doesn't have it. And as you say, if he cannot pay, his properties could be seized by New York State's Attorney General. Mr. Trump must come up with that bond in order to satisfy the judgment that was set by Judge Arthur Engoron in Trump's real estate civil fraud trial. Engoron found that the Trump organization overvalued its real estate assets to get better loan terms from banks. Well, in reaction to the new demand, Trump posted this on True Social in part, saying, quote, "I shouldn't have to put up any money being forced by the corrupt judge and AG until the end of the appeal. That's the way the system works. Nobody has ever heard of anything like this before. I would be forced to mortgage or sell great assets, perhaps at fire sale prices, and if and when I win the appeal, they would be gone." Well, if the former president doesn't meet that deadline, Attorney General Letitia James, who brought the case, can have the ability to freeze his bank accounts and also, as you said, go after some of his real estate properties like Trump Tower. But some bankruptcy lawyers say James has to get in line before she might ever see a dime because there are other creditors.
Number one is the other lien holders, equity holders, judgment lien holders, taxes, New York City, New York State. The list goes on and on and on.
Well, in order to post the bond, the insurance companies need cash as collateral, hard cash. And they do not rely on real estate assets like Trump Tower. But the president does not, we're told, have the backup. His lawyers said that they approached 30 insurance companies to try and get that bond, but all 30 said no. Sandra?
Okay, Eric Shawn live here in New York City on that for us. Eric, thank you. One recent op-ed argues Letitia James sacrifices the rule of law to get Trump, adding her dubious civil fraud suit is more damaging to the market's integrity than his conduct is. It points to AG James' 2018 campaign promise, taking down Trump. She leaned into that promise hard.
I will never be afraid to challenge this illegitimate president when our fundamental rights are at stake. I believe that the president of these United States can be indicted for criminal offenses.
Will you sue him for us?
Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the He's going to know my name personally.
That man in the White House who can't go a day without threatening our fundamental rights.
Yes, we need to focus on Donald Trump and his abuses. We need to follow his money. We need to find out where he's laundered money. We need to find out whether or not he's engaged in conspiracy. It's important that everyone understand that the days of Donald Trump are coming to an end.
I look forward to going into the office of Attorney General every day, suing him, defending your rights, and then going home.
Well, there it was on full display, right, Leo? Leo Terrell joining us, attorney and Fox News contributor. I mean, she said it. She said it many times, and she said it out loud, Leo.
Thank you very much, Sandra. You're absolutely right. And those videos that you just displayed should be a compelling reason why the appellate court should grant Donald Trump's request to lower the bond or not to have a bond at all. Sandra, there's no victim here. There's no victim at all. And the bail request is excessive. And I guarantee you, one way or another, if it's not stopped by the New York Appellate Court, the Supreme Court under the 8th Amendment is going to find this excessive, and Donald Trump is going to get justice. It's going to take a while, but he'll have to get justice from the Supreme Court.
Leo, the Wall Street Journal's editorial board with this headline, Letitia James turns the screws on Trump. The inflated bond required to appeal effectively denies him due process. They reiterate their argument from last month, saying, quote, the judgment is overkill. None of Mr. Trump's business partners lost money lending to him or claimed to have been deceived by his erroneous financial statements. No witness during the trial said his alleged misrepresentations changed its loan terms or prices. And there was no evidence that he profited from his alleged deceptions. So why are we here today, Leo?
Politics. But Sandra, you and I and everyone in this country can look at what Letitia James said in 2018. Look at what she is pursuing. It is to deny the leading nominee, the Republican nominee, from running for office. It's not going to happen, but that's the mindset. I've been a lawyer for 30 years. I have never seen an individual identify a person, Donald Trump, to try to block him and do everything possible to prevent him from running for president. If he wasn't running for president, Sandra, these charges would not exist.
Leo, next up, I want to ask you about this big debate over our government's relationship with big tech and the content the American people actually see. The Supreme Court, Leo, heard oral arguments just yesterday on a suit by attorneys general in Louisiana and Missouri. They accused the Biden administration of coercing social media platforms to censor certain views, such as, shocker, conservative voices and certain information on the 2020 election, COVID vaccines, and Hunter Biden's infamous laptop. The case has enormous free speech implications. This comment from Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson getting a lot of attention.
So my biggest concern is that your view has the First Amendment hamstringing the government in significant ways in the most important time periods. The government actually has a duty to take steps to protect the citizens of this country.
A majority of justices from across the ideological spectrum expressed similar concerns. House Judiciary Chair Jim Jordan attended the arguments.
It was literally one of the craziest things I've ever seen, that you could have a justice on the United States Supreme Court say that in the oral. I mean, it made no sense to me. That is frightening, because if she really believes that is scary where we're headed. Understand what took place here. This was censorship by surrogate. This was big government telling big tech to take down speech they disagreed with. And it was the most fundamental kind of speech. It was political speech, the kind that's supposed to have the most heightened scrutiny you can have before you can take that down. But that's what took place.
Well, that was his reaction. What was yours, Leo, when you heard those comments from the Supreme Court justice?
I was very scared. I like to enroll her, Sandra, into a government class. The whole purpose of the Bill of Rights, the whole purpose of the first 10 amendments is to limit the federal government and to protect individuals. She flipped it upside down. And those statements were scary, very frightening by her to even articulate that the government is being hamstringed. That's the purpose of the Bill of Rights. That's the purpose of the First Amendment. And what you have here is a convoluted, and I predict a convoluted decision, because no one's denying the right of the federal government to get involved in the marketplace of ideas, but the government cannot intimidate and basically propagandize the marketplace of ideas and prevent third-party American citizens from expressing their viewpoints, Sandra.
Always appreciate when you can join us, Leo. Thanks for coming on today. Leo Terrell. Thank you, Leo.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.